Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Sarcos Developers Meetup, and now is my part to present you. I will present Dasharo Tools Suite Development and Testing Insights and Roadmap. Uh, who am I? I'm Daniel Klimuk. I'm Zarhus team leader
I'm not sure,
and
but
embedded
slides do not switch, so I guess
slides on
like
the switch.
that's. Oh, now it's okay.
Interesting. Let me know if they will switch in future. Um, my name is Daniel Klimuk, and I'm Zarhus team leader in FreeMDep, and I am a bit of embedded Linux enthusiast. The agenda of this presentation, just let me check if slide switched. Yep, it has switched. The agenda of this presentation is as follows. Firstly, I will introduce you what is the Dasharo Tools Suite. Then we will talk about where the Dasharo Tool Suite is located in Dasharo universe. Then I will update you on the Dasharo Tool Suite status. I will give you some development and testing insights of Dasharo Tool Suite. And then we will discuss the Dasharo Tool Suite roadmap and future releases. This presentation will introduce you briefly into some technical topics and reports. And for full deep dive, I recommend you to monitor the blog.freemdev.com for a blog post that will cover all these topics in depth. I will call Dasharo Tool Suite DTS just for convenience from now on. So what is DTS? DTS is a bridge between you and Dasharo. Initially, it was built with two main goals. Here. The first goal is to support end users while deploying Dasharo firmware, and the second goal is to support Dasharo firmware developers while they're developing Dasharo firmware. But what is DTS from the technical point of view? The DTS is a Yocto-based Linux distribution with tools supplied by Zarhus and Dasharo teams for all the tasks it does. The main idea of the Dasharo tool suite for the client point of view is Dasharo zero-touch initial deployment that consists of a list of automated workflows. Here are the workflows. That is the initial deployment, update, and transition for Dasharo firmware. Then we have an important feature that is called Dasharo hardware compatibility list report. Shortly, it is DTS HCL, as we developers call it. This thing supports not only developers when they develop the Dasharo firmware, but help us get feedback from clients as well. And then we have a new feature that was added in the latest releases, a fusing workflow for some of the platforms that support Dasharo firmware. And then we have an important workflow that is firmware recovery workflow. And on the left side, you can see the main menu of the Dasharo tool suite. So, where the Dasharo tool suite located in the Dasharo universe and what it provides. This is a copy of the diagram Piotr presented you. And as Piotr outlined, the Dasharo tool suite is located in two distinct places. The place here outlines the role in the development process of both the Dasharo firmware and the tools that are provided by Zarhu's team, that is Dasharo Tools Suite itself and Zarhu's provisioning box. Then here we have uh, a role of Dasharo Tools Suite to provide support for clients, especially the deploying support of Dasharo firmware and some of the security features that will be added lately and will be related to Zarhu's provisioning box. That is from the introduction, and right now we will jump to some latest releases and statistics. This is a map of releases since the second edition of the Zarhus developers meetup. As you can see, we had quite a lot of releases lately that added a lot of new features and that is more important, a lot of new features for some of the platforms. There is really a lot to discuss. I recommend you to check the releases page and follow the releases to be up to date about the test releases. Yes, and here are some statistics that has issues. We since the second edition of the ZDM, we had quite a jump in the issues here. Most of the issues are related to the enhancements and some future requests because of we are doing some major changes in the test. I will mention it later. But some of them, of course, bugs that we have to fix. And here here are some statistics about the main DTS repository pull requests. As you can see, we had a jump of pull requests here after the latest ZDM edition as well. This proves we had some new features, and maybe some bug fix. So there is a lot of activity actually. And here is the repo that holds all DTS logic. And here we have a jump in the activity as well. And this is a new repo. This is without S. This is typo, sorry. This is a new repo. It was added around half a year ago. And the purpose of this repo is to keep all the metadata that currently is built in Dasharo Tools Suite separately for some convenience in releases and all the other organization stuff. We have been experimenting lately in this repo with this repo, but right now we are implementing something that will finally get into production. So we have even some open pull requests here at the beginning of this month. And the last slide from the statistics part is DTS contributions. DTS is an open source firmware, and as an open source firmware, it uses other. It is an open source software, sorry, and as an open source software, it uses other open source projects. And while we are developing the test, we are developing the the tools that we use as well, and we really like to contribute to these tools. Since the last edition of Zarkos Developers Meetup, we had one contribution that was authored by one of the Zarkos team members, Michał Iwanicki. The contribution was to Flashram project that prevents you to from some platform breaks during firmware deployment in the DTS as well. So really big thank you to the contributor here. For more information, you can check the repos and links here. And now I want to give you some insights about latest changes in the DTS and most global changes in the DTS that happened since last edition of Zarkos Developers Meetup. And the biggest changes in the DTS from our point of view is a new testing methodology. We call it end-to-end testing methodology. And before introducing the general concept of the methodology, I want to outline some challenges that we as developers face. The entire DTS logic and code can be divided into two groups. The code that is not firmware or hardware related, it consists of some general code like some UI, remote data access, etc., and the code that is related to firmware and hardware, and is firmware hardware specific, like flash ROM, DMA decode, calls, and all the logic that is related to these tools. Currently, and because of the architecture, on the DTS architecture that is a monolith architecture, we have all this logic and tools in one place without strict rules and etc. It's one big piece of code, and lately we figured out that during the periods when there is a lot of changes and releases, it is really hard to add new features and to maintain this code. And we wanted to make it easier for the developers, make it easier to add features and to maintain stability of the entire code base. So the idea is simple. We want to move on something that looks like a microservice architecture, but maybe not quite a microservice architecture. But the idea is to separate this. It is the same color. Okay. The idea is to separate those chunks of code and minimize them separately. So ideally, we would have all these general code blocks as simple and minimalistic as possible. For example, this would be an UI. Here we have some server and etc. And here we will have all the custom hardware/firmware workarounds and all the stuff. And of course, there are other changes that hide beneath all these diagrams. The changes are described in the blog post I mentioned before, or will be described. Yeah. But before making all those global changes, we wanted to develop a testing methodology that will help us keep the entire code base together and stable. And this led to development of the before mentioned end-to-end testing methodology. And behind the end-to-end testing methodology, there are two key concepts. The first concept is black box testing that actually bases on treating the data as a black box without caring too much what is going on inside during testing, but caring a lot about specified inputs and outputs and their correlations. So even if we will completely refactor the data's code inside, there will be no changes in the testing methodology, and yeah, and we will be able to just operate on the same inputs and outputs with goal to 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 test the test and all the changes. And the second key concept behind the end-to-end testing methodology is use case testing, is when we test not all inputs and outputs of the DTS, but some sets of inputs and outputs. And there are two groups of these sets. The first group is called success path. The success paths are outlined as smiling face here. And the second group is the same color. And the second group is the error path that is outlined by skulls here. The key difference between the two groups is that the success path is a path we want to keep. We want to maintain this path. Let the users that use the DTS to after they select the workflow mm, to the correctly updated, modified, and expected firmware state. And the error paths are the paths that we want to monitor, to have a list of these error paths and to check them every time that they are properly handled and communicated to user, because the error paths are the paths that could actually break your platform. And yes, and this actually is a second concept. To test all of these and group into one piece and yes, and test it quickly, we developed two additional testing architectures. Here is architecture that was present for some time. It's just testing on hardware. The problem was that testing on hardware took us a lot of time. It was hard to automate it. Yeah, and it slowed down all the releases and development processes. And therefore, we decided to develop two distinct architectures that allowed us to fully automate the testing process. This is because of with the help of Camel and OSFV. The architectures are pretty complicated, so be sure to check the blog post I mentioned before. Yeah, the key idea of this architecture, as I mentioned, is to remove the dependency on hardware from the development workflow, because yeah, the standard testing and development workflow looked before the changes look like this, that we do some changes, build the test, prepare hardware, which by itself, if done one time, takes around 90% of developer's time, and then launch OSFV, as it is a testing framework in the Dasharo universe, and hope the hardware will not cause any problems during testing that will cause false positives or false negative. But the probability that hardware cause the problems is quite high, and therefore the developer should detect these problems, that the hardware was the reason to cause these problems, and get back to hardware and start all over again and lost time and all the things. And with the new testing methodologies, we're able to to get rid of the hardware here and free all the 90% time that was spent on hardware configuration and solving of problems related to hardware for the actual development by the mocking system that was implemented in the test. Yeah, and for more about the testing and how all of the systems and subsystems were implemented, I'm again redirecting you to the blog post. And that's it about the development and testing insights. And the last part of my presentation is the DataS roadmap. So what is coming next in the DataS? Currently, the next planned release is this one here. And the key features in this release are the separated user interface that will be shared between other Dasharo and Zarhus projects, such as, for example, the Zarhus provisioning box. The idea here is to at least to make the user interface more stable, more documented, yeah, and share between the projects. Then the second key feature will be the full transition to the metadata that is stored separately, and that will actually increase the frequency of the DataS releases and Dasharo firmware releases. Yeah. The third key feature will be actually sharing the results of the tests that are based on the new end-to-end methodology in OSFV dashboard. This is a technology used by Dasharo team to share the results of Dasharo firmware testing. And there are, of course, some minor fixes for some bugs, and etc., etc. For more information, check the linked milestone on GitHub. For the future releases, we have some ideas what to do next. The most important ideas are the ideas related to the Dasharo universe and integration of the DTS features and DTS itself to the workflows described by Petr. For example, the root of trust and chain of trust, verification and attestation, maybe some sharing of the details features with the upcoming Zarhus BMC, and etc. etc. And of course, there are a lot of new firmware for already existing platforms, or new firmware that will be added to the list of supported hardware soon. For example, the servers, yeah, and some desktop platforms such as Nova Custom laptops and all the other. And that's it from my side. Any questions and maybe topics to discuss?
I guess we are 2 minutes behind the schedule. Yeah, I guess like maybe one short comment. Like I think the one value of the black box and adding the logical blocks like UI is creating new black boxes. Like we have just one, and thanks to the division, we can create more. Yeah.
Yeah, I believe it is called unit testing. When we will clean up the code base enough, we can test not the entire code base, but some features or functions separately.
Yeah. I imagine also like authentication module or some attestation module or something like that.
Exactly.
Okay.